Hello. Today I thought I'd talk about some tropes. I think we'll be focusing mostly on character tropes. So let's get started. The first is the evil overlord, or the bad guy is bad. Um, it's kind of an overplayed trope, and it can be a little boring. It's not necessarily a bad trope. It just narratively it tells the reader that the journey is really just overcoming the big evil dude who is evil for the sake of being evil. I tend to find it a little more interesting when the evil overlord is given a better reason for their evil doing. You see that in Mistborn with the emperor having reasons for what he's doing. I wouldn't say what he did was good, but by the end, you understand his motivations behind what he did, and he doesn't appear as evil as he did at the start, as opposed to, say, Sauron, who is evil for the sake of being evil. That's all you need to know. Like I said, I tend to be less fond of this particular trope. I think that modern books are veering away from it a bit in favor of giving more fleshed out characters that don't follow the same black and white ideas of more classical fantasy. But it can still be done well. The author just needs to be careful because it's hard to hate an evil character that's just evil. The best modern example of that being true is Voldemort versus Umbridge. One of those is clearly more evil than the other. At least they're supposed to be for the story. But it's also not the one that everyone hates with a burning passion. Because we're given a far more nuanced view of who Umbridge is as a person. Yes, she's still evil, but we get a little more flavor there than we do with people like Voldemort. Moving on, I think yes, all of the others that I want to talk about today are generally about the hero. So let's start with another pretty cookie cutter hero that you see a lot in The Chosen One. It's cookie cutter because we see it a lot and the reader knows what to expect. And that's not a bad thing. Tropes can help the reader pick what they want to read. And with The Chosen One, they're prophesied to be the hero. We know what to expect. They're the hero. But that can also be boring because it takes away a lot of the expectation of failure at the end. This can be subverted a bit, like Zelda, for example, which is not my favorite game franchise, not least because the timeline is insane. But one of the timelines in that franchise is where Link fails, even though he's a quintessential chosen one. But like I said, narratively, it tells us where we're going and what to expect, and that's really what it's meant to do. That's why it's so popular. It lets the author shortcut a lot of the background storytelling and focus on something else they want to talk about, like the journey of that particular hero. Somewhat related to the Chosen One is the Secret Heir, who, I mean, it's a pretty self explanatory trope name. The character is unknowingly the heir to something. Generally, they're a secret prince or princess. This can be a little more complex than the Chosen One, in that you don't always know that the secret heir is a secret heir from the start. And that can be saved as a reveal later to be interesting, but it's kind of similar to the Chosen One in that it sets the character and the expectations for them. We know that there's secret heir. Presumably that's relevant to the story at hand, and they're going to rise up and become the heir in some fashion or another. I tend to like this one a little more than the Chosen One, but it's still not something I'm particularly fond of. I've seen it done well, I've seen it done poorly. It's just not my favorite. Moving on to the most classic of heroes, the reluctant hero. I say this is the most classic because it's literally step 2 of the hero's journey. For those that don't know, the hero's journey is a story structure that most classic fantasy or stories follow. Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, they all follow the hero's journey. And the reluctant hero is just that. They don't want to be heroing. It's Bilbo turning down. This trope tells me that the story is more focused on turning the hero into a hero. We get to see them slowly or quickly transform from not wanting to do the thing or fetch the MacGuffin to doing that and seeing how that impacts their journey. It's classic. It's so classic. It's the name of a step in a story structure. It's also very easy to do, and it's just a good trope to use. I tend to like it far more than the other two, if you couldn't tell. Still not my favorite, but it's getting to the point of ones that I actually enjoy reading. Yeah, I think we'll talk about the Lucky Novice next. It's probably the last one I'll talk about today, and it's also kind of my favorite. The Lucky Novice is not necessarily the best name for descriptions. The other trope names, I tend to feel like they're very easy to understand what they are, and the Lucky Novice is slightly less so. They're a person who discovers an unusual level of skill in a topic or ability. Whether that's magic or swords, it doesn't really matter. They're unusually skilled in the topic, and that aids them in their journey. It can be a little tricky to pull off. While it's my favorite, it's also probably the one that's most common in stories I don't like, because the author has to be very careful. If they aren't, the character will come off as too much of a Mary Sue, and that's not interesting to read about. A character that never fails is a character that I don't care exists. So it's a more interesting trope to me because it gives us a different direction to go, and means that if it's been done well, the author has counterbalanced that character's unusual skills in one area with flaws in other areas. Whether that be they're amazing at swords but terrible at magic, or vice versa, or they have some personality flaws that means no one gets along with them, or they have a hard time working in teams. Something that gives them not just flaws, but reasons to have conflict and challenges. If the character's never challenged, again, I don't care. The story needs to be less about their unusual skill, and that skill should be more a way to sidestep their journey in learning that skill. It should be, at that point, it should be just kind of part of the background, and anything involving whatever they're skilled in should just not be the main focus of the story. I think that covers all the ones I wanted to talk about today. If you like this video, please leave a like, if not a dislike. And what are your thoughts on these tropes? Do you agree with me? Do you strongly disagree with me? Or are there other character tropes that you like more than these, or less? Let me know in the comment section. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.